Hello to you all, and welcome back to the United Road podcast. I am joined, and very happy to say that I'm joined by a fellow weekly armchair alumni, Dec. Big United fan, Dec. It's a pleasure to have you on. I've wanted you on for a few weeks, to be fair, mate. I wanted to sort of open it up to the weekly armchair panel, so I'm very glad that you're the first one. I wish we were chatting in better circumstances, though, I'll be honest. It's been tough recently, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's been very hard to see the way the team are playing. The last few games, realistically, we've been up against Coventry, Sheffield United, Burnley, three games that historically we wouldn't even have worried about them coming, but those three teams have actually turned up and fought harder than our players have on the pitch and have basically nearly they've got the results that they've wanted, with the exception of Coventry. Only for a last minute VAR intervention, we would have been out of the cup as well. Scraped through on penalties. We're in the FA Cup final. It's great to be in the final again. Delighted for that, but the displays lately have just been very, very poor. We're leaving what are so-called smaller teams bosses, whether it be in Old Trafford or in Wembley. It's horrible to see at the moment, but it just shows the way our season has gone from start to finish. We've had some highs, but we've had a lot of lows. God only knows what the rest of the season is going to bring for us.
Yeah, do you know what? You mentioned the last three games there. I went on an app. I always like to go on the app and just have a look at United and how they've been recently. And I actually had to scroll up to find when we last won a game. Our last win, before the Sheffield United game, but before the Sheffield United game, I had to scroll up. Our last win before that was the 4-3 against Liverpool. The last win in the league before Sheffield United was 2-0 against Everton. It's not good enough, that, is it?
It's not. It's not for a club that was challenging for titles, and the brand of football was what attracted most United fans to that club. I mean, we played attacking football. Whether it was counter attack or just trying to outscore the other team. That's why I personally fell in love with United. All those years ago, it was just the way we played, and the never say die attitude of the players. And I think that's what's wrong at the moment. We've players there that aren't as invested in the club as the supporters are, and it's a pity they don't feed into the emotion of the supporters that are paying massive money week in, week out to follow the team home and away. So I think there's a disconnect between the players and the supporters, and I think that's why we're starting to see frustration from the supporters. We've seen it, and enough is enough now.
Well, the problem we've got, isn't it, is, and you alluded to it there, really, about the sort of attacking and style of play sort of thing that United have traditionally had, and it's actually quite good. I love getting these perspectives from, obviously, an Irishman like yourself. What is it that sort of attracted you to the club originally, and how different is it to the today Manchester United?
Well, I mean, historically we always had wingers that would just push the ball forward, get a crossing. I mean, David Beckham, the prime example, he'd stick the ball onto the striker's head. Now, for some reason, the managers we've had want to play out from the back. Like, what drives me crazy and nearly has me putting my foot through a TV is why a goalie can't kick out a ball. He either needs the defender to pass to him so he can pass it back to the defender, and then they'll try pass out from the back. We're so slow moving out from the back into midfield and onto the forwards at the moment. It's actually ridiculous. We should be concentrating on what strengths we do have in Garnacho, great wing player, but I mean, he can't do it all on his own, and he's getting burnt out, I think, at this stage of the season.
I agree with that big time.
Yeah, young fella probably needs a rest, but he's turned in some great performances. But we're just so slow and predictable, and we're leaving teams attack us the way we used to attack them. We're giving so many shots onto our goal. It's like United are giving out Christmas crackers with a shot on goal inside it. We're just so predictable and slow, and everything is pass back.
Well, obviously the premise of the show is Erik Ten Hag, but I want to sort of part that for a slight moment and speak about why the issue of Ten Hag is probably quite prominent at the moment, and it's probably been highlighted from the Burnley game. Now, I said on Twitter the other day that I didn't watch it. I went to a non-league game because it was the last game of the season for our local non-league team, Trafford. So I caught snippets of the game sort of afterwards just to see how they were, or if they were as bad as some people were saying. Dec, you did watch the game. What were kind of your biggest flaws, or was there any positives to take from the match?
There wasn't too many positives to actually take from the match. I think there really wasn't. And I think the problem Erik has and why people question him is he comes out with some strange substitutions during games and he leaves players on that aren't performing in the game and takes other players on. So I actually don't know. Sometimes I'm an Erik fan, so I've said all along that I want him to be there next season. So I'm not going to go down too hard on him. I think what he's had to deal with this season, I don't think many managers would have been able to turn around. But the Burnley game, we were so slow. It was unreal. Burnley were actually hungrier than us in Old Trafford, which is disgrace.
Do you know what though, Dec? I hear this a lot in terms of the hungrier or they wanted it more. Do you think that's kind of the biggest worry? Because I don't particularly see it like that. I actually think that for the first time in a few seasons, I actually see a team that probably do want it. They just kind of don't know how to. And what I mean by that is, I think they just don't know what they're supposed to be doing. And I know they've probably got to take an element of responsibility themselves, but I think since the Coventry game, I think I've really changed my tune, and I'm really finding myself questioning Ten Hag for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm definitely swinging on the side of maybe we do need to change it. And obviously the premise of the show is Ten Hag, but I think when you look at the most recent results, it's not even so the results, because you could blame the results on injuries, I suppose, to an extent. To my opinion is you kind of can't blame consistent performances on injuries though. And I think when you're looking at the likes of, like you say, Garnacho, who is knackered, so you can question his substitutions, but you can half understand why he's taking him off.
Yeah.
But I find it absolutely, like, I've got the Burnley stats up here. Burnley still had 16 shots against us at Old Trafford. You know, it's something that we're seeing consistently, that a lot of shots are going against Onana. Another thing that I'm seeing is the defence. The gap between the defensive line and the midfield and forwards is huge.
Yeah.
So there's no wonder we're seeing so many muscle injuries, because the sheer amount of distance the players are having to conjure up throughout matches just seems quite unheard of to me. And a lot of these muscle injuries are happening not even in games, but in training as well.
And training.
So it seems to me that it's slightly unprecedented. And as much as I understand it is the sort of business end of the season, we've not been in the Europa League, we've not been in the Carabao Cup, we've not been in the Champions League. We have had a lot more time for training, and we have had a lot more time to implement ideas, whether it's from the first team or the fringe players who've had to come in because of said injuries. So when I'm seeing the amount of tactical problems, I'm finding it hard to defend him. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know you just alluded then that you do want to see him here next season. What's your defence of Ten Hag, and why do you want to see him here next season?
I think there's been a change at the club for the better since Sir Jim and Ineos have come in, and more not on the football pitch just yet, but in the hierarchy of the club. They seem to be getting.
Definitely.
They seem to be
It
getting.
couldn't get much worse, though, to be fair.
Well, no, like, I mean, look, Glazers ran us as a commercial entity. They weren't too worried about what we did on the pitch, because they knew no matter what, they were going to sell hundreds of millions of merchandise anyway. I mean, that's what they wanted us turned into. They wanted a commercial entity that they could make massive money off. And no matter what way United are playing, we're arguably the world's biggest club. We're Sky Sports' biggest news story, no matter what happens.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's not a Sky Sports Day without a story about United in it. So I'd love to see, like, Erik had a great season last season. I was hoping this season he'd push on. Yes, we've had a lot of injury problems, but I'd love to see how he would do with the full backing of Ineos and a full team upstairs that actually know about football and identify the right type of players to get in. We need to shift a lot of deadwood, and if we're to believe the rumours in the papers, there's only 3 in the current squad not up for sale in Garnacho, Highland, and
Mainu, I think.
Mainu. And Mainu. You know, so I mean, if I think Sir Jim's going to be ruthless, he knows how to make business successful, and if that means gutting it, I think give Erik another season and see how he does with full backing. Look, it could all go pear-shaped. We've, ever since I was lucky enough to be there at Sir Alex's last title in 2013, and it's been a complete shit show ever since, with a few cups.
You could say that again.
Yeah, with a few cups, but I don't know. Sir Jim probably has his mind made up already. You know, he's not going to be leaving anything to the last minute. But Erik didn't come into a bad manager over the course of one season. I just think everything that could have gone wrong against us this season has gone wrong.
Yeah, do you know what? And this is where part of me doubts my own sort of opinion, to be honest, because everything has gone wrong. He's dealt with the Sancho situation, the Ronaldo situation, the Glazers, you know, the absolute chaos of the sale. Jim Ratcliffe coming in, Ineos coming in, talk of a new manager, fans starting to potentially think of a new manager. So in the grand scheme of things, and we have got to an FA Cup final, so you can, in the grand scheme of things, I suppose you can look at the positives in a way. And when you say there as well, that's probably my only thing of, do we keep him? Because I would argue that with a better structure or a structure above him, it would allow him to implement his coaching side of him more. Because he's not really a manager, is he? And he wasn't really a manager at Ajax. He was a coach.
He was a coach.
Coach. So I don't really think. I do wonder if with a proper structure above him, would it be better? I really do.
It's been interesting to see reports coming out now. I mean, I don't know how true they are. Again, United are reported on in every news format going, but we have Jose saying that he wants to come back, you know, that he has unfinished business and he didn't like the way he left. I mean, that's just another media circus just starting up again. I mean, I don't know. I think Jose was right in what he said before he left. There was a virus at the club, and he's mentioned a lot of players that are still there shouldn't be there. And I think that's the problem the club has had. We've retained players on big contracts without them putting in performances. So, I mean, got it.
Well, to be fair, and we've got Reece joining us as well. But just before he comes in, I want to just throw out this comment to you from Foul Throw Podcast. Erik doesn't rotate well enough. He didn't last season either, and it's a worry moving forward. He's isolated his squad deliberately. What do you make of that comment? I'm not quite sure I agree with that, if I'm honest.
I don't think he's been able to rotate. I think we've had so many.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think we've had so many injury problems. I mean, look at it. We've a makeshift defence for a lot of games this season. And who has come out with some credit has been Harry Maguire. Let's be fair to him. I wasn't as big a fan last season, but I think he's done well. But our defence has been decimated. Lisandro Martinez has been injured for the majority of the season, and he'd walk into most teams' defence straight away. He's been a massive loss to us. Luke Shaw, when he's been back, has played great. We've missed him as well. So I don't know what I agree with the rotation. I don't think we've had the players there to rotate this season.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he did back his point up and said this, though, as well, about this is completely justified. When you make 2 changes against Coventry and it collapses. Now, with that comment, I want to make the point as well, and I think this is another reason why, and I'll bring Reece in as well in a second, so don't worry, I can see you, Reece. But that it's where my brain switched, and I think I really did lose it a little bit, because you cannot be 3 goals up to a team in the division below you. And then it becomes 3-3. And as much as anyone can be Ten Hag in or Ten Hag out or defend him or not defend him, that's kind of unjustifiable. And it's, you know, along with the performances as well, and the tactical errors that a lot of people are seeing. I think that was probably a lot of people's last straw. But before you say anything, Dec, let me just bring in Reese.
Yeah.
Reese, welcome, mate. How are you doing?
Hi, gents. You all right?
It's been a while. I've not spoken to you for a little while. Oh, you're all right, mate. What's kind of your thoughts on Ten Hag then?
Overall, I think there's definitely this prospect there, isn't there, with Ten Hag? I think that's kind of what we're all hoping. I think there must be, because there's no way you take the Ajax team that he had to what he took it to and not have some level of tactical talent. Don't get me wrong. I don't think I'm on the side of necessarily keeping him for another year, to be honest. But I think, I think what every manager that comes into a club like Man United, unfortunately, don't have the experience to deal with a club that size. Nobody can, unless you've literally had that experience. And I think the media side of it and the publicity around the club is something that, despite the fact you might be a brilliant tactical manager, I'm not saying Ten Hag is or isn't in this case, but even if you are, I think that the fact that United is such a massive publicity stunt for as a club recently, I always have been, I suppose, it's half the issue I think that these managers have. I think they're just so not used to dealing with that, and you see it in the media at the minute, Callum, haven't you? He's just babbling, really, and it's got embarrassing. I think it's got embarrassing in the results, but when he's then coming out and then deflecting and saying things in the media where it's just, for me, flatly embarrassing in terms of what he's saying. Yeah, I know English isn't his first language, but he's trying to put a spin and a light on everything that we're doing wrong, and I think sometimes you just want a bit of honesty. I got it wrong, the tactics weren't right today. It was my fault. The players weren't running hard enough. You just want a bit of honesty from him. And I think when he's
you'd like him to come out at some stage and just say, "Do you know what? We were shit today. We didn't deserve it, and I'm going to fuck the players out of it in the dressing room. Further display and lack of ability." I agree with you. I don't like the way he comes out trying to defend when we've been playing bad, when we've been playing poor. It drives us supporters up the wall.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's basically what I'm trying to get at. I think that's kind of the big issue. I mean, obviously, there's lots of other things for me. I mean, tactically, I think he's got it par in certain games. Other than the Coventry game now, reeling back my memory of when he's got it wrong has been pretty difficult. But there's been times where he's swapped and changed players mid-game, and it's just not worked. Europe was the big loss for me. I think he got it terribly wrong in games where we were in control in some of those games, and we ended up losing leads. Basically, it was just,
it's happened multiple times, hasn't it, though? The losing the leads, it's something that's so strange to say as a United fan, given our history and given how we've always kind of been on the other side of it, of coming back and stuff. But it's like some of the comments he's made that you're alluding to there. We were in total control against Sheffield United. Now, I've got the stats for the Sheffield United game here, so let's see if he was right. So in terms of possession, he probably was right. Expected goals, yeah, you're right. But again, Sheffield United had 10 shots, scored twice, and went ahead. I think both times. I think it was 1-0, 1-1, 2-1, 2-2. And I think United in the end just had that little bit more quality. But I wouldn't say we played amazingly in that game either. There was, I can't remember which game it was after. Was it after the Coventry game? He came out and said things like, we played the most entertaining football in the league. I was like, I don't know what game you're watching, but I don't mind managers coming out and saying particular comments, because to be fair, it probably is just to rile people up, and it's probably, I imagine, a little bit different to what is said in the dressing room. If it isn't, that's when you become a problem. But I just think when you're a man under pressure with a team who's not playing well at all, it's needless comments like that probably pile more pressure onto yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
I mean, it's not entertaining to lose a 3-goal lead and to stay in the game with last-minute VAR decision. That's not entertaining. That's giving United fans a heart attack. We should never be giving 3 goals away to Coventry, with as much respect to him as I can. That should never happen. But I put a lot of that down. While he made some tactical decisions there, the players should be able to stand up and get a grip of the game. Bruno's our captain. There's senior players there. they should know if they concede one goal, they should be turning around to the rest of the team and saying, lads, let's not give them another one, let alone another 2 more. Players should be able to identify that.
It is concerning, Dec. I think it was. I watched the overlap. I've not watched a lot of it, but I watched a little bit of it the other day, and I think it was Keane that I said. Was it Ten Hag that had the Ajax team that where Spurs came back in that semi-final and they drew and they overturned the deficit with the 3-0 down, and they overturned it, and he was the manager at the time, so he's got history on it. To be fair, he plays this kind of open style football where these players are running ragged, pressing all the time. And is it energy sapping? Is it causing injuries? Clearly, is it meaning they're not getting through full games because of too? I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's just clearly not working, is it? For me, I think it's a mess. But
yeah, we're seeing reports coming out that they're saying they're overtrained, and that's where all the muscle injuries are coming from. We've never had as many muscle injuries in one season, so that bit is concerning. Because I mean, if we can't keep our players fit and on the pitch, they're definitely not going to be able to perform. You know.
Well, can I ask you both something then? Actually, because it was something that I was quite happy with, but I did comment on it. Whether it was a bit premature, I don't know, but. The conference he did after the Coventry game, where he was basically asked, could he understand the reaction? And he said the media were embarrassing. What were your thoughts on his reaction to that? Because I thought it was a weird one for me, because I actually thought it was embarrassing that we lost a 3-goal lead, and I thought that's something he could have potentially focused on more. However, I did understand him hitting back at the media. It's just frustrating that he doesn't do that more, because I think, as you alluded to it before, that you know, there's not a United, there's not a Sky Sports day without some kind of useless United story. So to me, it's kind of like, why can't he hit out then? I think he could have. I know it was unlucky, the goal against Coventry, and the penalty could be argued. Regardless of that, you shouldn't be relying on things like that for, you know, for games against teams in the division below. So what did you make of his thoughts in terms of how he reacted to the media?
I think he's going to have to be tougher with the media, because whether he likes it or not, they're going to focus on every small, minute detail about United. And I think that's where the pressure has been told on previous managers. They've never, as Reece and yourself said earlier, there's no manager can expect or explain what happens when they're manager of Man United. There's so much pressure on you, and every small thing you say is focused on. I didn't like the comment saying, I didn't like it. I thought he would have been better suited if he'd called out the players and just been a bit more honest. The media are going to season everything that United do wrong. We should not be giving away a 3-goal lead, regardless of what way the goals went in. That was embarrassing to watch.
Yeah, it comes part and parcel with being, like you say, debatably the biggest club in the world. Like, they're going to react like that, especially when a calamitous collapse like that happens. But surely you should understand why they've done it. I can understand why they've done it. I just think that probably wasn't his bestest moment to react to the media. Because to be honest, as much as the media reacted like that, United fans did as well. And to an extent, so did the players. I mean, usually when you win a penalty shootout, the relief is so overwhelming that you charge forward, you're so happy you've won it. And even the players knew themselves that this shouldn't have been at penalties. So I just felt the timing may have been a little bit ill-judged to call out the media, maybe. But I mean, it's tough at the minute, because I'm finding it really hard to defend him. Like I say, Reece, I asked Dec this before. Where are you on it? Are you still? So Dec's obviously said he thinks he should be here next season. Forgive me if I've quoted you wrong there, Dec. Am I right? No. Yeah. Okay. So effectively, he thinks he should be here next season with a proper structure. I can certainly see that argument, because I think with his past and how he was at Ajax with a good structure and all that sort of stuff, you can probably understand he could do well. And he's only got one last year on his contract. But my thoughts of that is, Ineos won't wait a year. I think Ineos, like you say, won't mess around. If they want someone else, they'll just go get him. What do you think, Reece?
I mean, just to quickly touch on the comments from that Coventry game as well, Callum. I understood what he was saying. I think he said something as well along the lines of, we've made 3 finals in 2 years or something along those lines as well, which technically is right. And, that's
what I mean. On paper, that looks great for him. And I don't think that's any mean feat, is it?
It's not. It's just like Dec said, and probably, you're in agreement with that it's the manner of which we won that game, which is the concerning thing, and the manner in which we've been playing games recently against the bottom half of the league, and we've been dominated. Let's be honest, and so that was a concerning thing, I think. And leading up to that was just a crescendo of all those games coming together in that final, and has giving Coventry hope when by 60 minutes they shouldn't have had any hope at all. We should have killed that game off. So yeah, he's right about the facts of what's happened with the finals, but the manner in that game, he should have addressed that issue and said, look, that was embarrassing today, but we have made 3 finals. And I think he's not helping himself in the media. He's just making things worse. Now, that maybe that's something he needs to work on as well separately. But in terms of him next year, it's difficult because who do we go for? I think, he knows the players he's got. He knows the club fairly well now after a couple of years in. And yeah, like you said, he's got a structure there. So do we give him that year with him not making the choices on signings? Whereas obviously, clearly, he's made some poor ones since he's been involved with the club. So that out of his hands a little bit more, and the structure around him with Dave Brailsford there, and obviously Ineos kind of controlling things above. Is it going to be a bit more structured? I think what we want to see is just a little bit more structure on the pitch, really. First of all, I think the structure is going to happen behind it, isn't it? It's going to work, and things are going to be on stage.
But my argument is, does structure above the club help structure on the pitch? I'm just playing devil's advocate, by the way. I think it does.
I get completely what you're saying, and I think that's kind of been the big argument from all Man United fans for so many years. But as we all know, that's going to take a lot of time, isn't it? And we'll probably not reap the rewards of that for another sort of 5 to 10 years when the academy's coming through, and we'll see kind of everything, the new stadiums in place, if that ever happens. But we still want to see the team do well or do perform at a decent level. And is he the manager to sort of give us that? I mean, in terms of his finals, he can't argue with that. I suppose he's got us to finals and we're there. But have we got a chance against City in that FA Cup final? I'm not so sure.
I think we do, in the sense that it's a cup final. If you were to, because anything can happen in the cup. I mean, look at against Coventry. Anything can happen. They were a toenail away from playing City effectively. I mean, in my personal opinion, I don't particularly like that offside rule. I think it's quite hard to justify sometimes, because that doesn't give an advantage. I understand, but you have got to draw the line of offside somewhere, and the front of the foot is where it should be drawn. But you can understand from a neutral point of view or from a Coventry point of view, it is a kick in the gut. But on paper, we haven't. Performance-wise, we haven't. Tactic-wise, we haven't got a chance. But in terms of the FA Cup and it being a cup game and a one-off, of course we've got a chance. Anything can happen, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Of course, we have a chance. I mean, everyone's going to write us off, and that'll probably suit us anyway, because I mean, the 10 City fans are going to travel down to Wembley and be looking forward to a great game. But we're going to love nothing more than to upset them. And if the players on that pitch can't get up for an FA Cup final against the noisy neighbours, then they need to be moved on, because it's going to be massive.
I think a lot of those players are playing for the United careers. I think you said it before, didn't you, Dad? I think you said there was 3 players. I saw a report 4 players were, or 5 players, sorry, were effectively deemed untouchable. And they were, as the ones you mentioned, with Delo and Onana.
Yeah.
And 6 and Bruno. Other than that, it's effectively, if you give us a good offer, we'll consider it. And Rashford was included in that. Now, I wouldn't sell Rashford. I really wouldn't. Yes, he's not been good this season, but I think the abuse he receives is so over the top. And I think as a United fan base, we should rally together to back him. Because that's what you do as a fan. You don't abuse him. And I think the type of people that are abusing him online, it says a lot about them more than the other way around. But what I would say is, I think a lot of those players in that FA Cup final, because let's face it, the league is done now. Nobody cares. I would argue, and in a minute we'll talk about the rest of the season, but I'd argue that the league is finished. We're obviously not going to get top four now. That's gone. Europa League, I'm really not fussed about. In terms of a rebuild, I'd rather be out of Europe altogether, and I certainly wouldn't want to be in the Conference League. I don't know what you guys think of that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, sorry, Dec, I'll let you.
No, you're walk away.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of that sort of all muddled into one. It wasn't obviously last season, but it was the season before where we got to that end of that season, and then it might have been the kind of when Ranić came in, wasn't it? And we were sort of hoping to push for top four, and it never really kind of happened. And then we ended up getting Europa League football. But yeah, so it's I don't know. I mean, I don't mind it. The Europa League football, obviously, we want top four, we want Champions League, but you know, when it comes round and we play it, I think we do try and enjoy it, and I think we do try and want to win it. I think that's what we'll try and do next season. If we do get, you know, we put a good run in there, I think that'll be good for the fans and obviously good for us as a team. We're not Champions League football material, Callum, at the minute, are we? I think we showed ourselves that this year, but I think we've got a good chance to push forward for that next year, definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's just a pain because obviously everybody wants Champions League football, but equally, I think we've got to accept that at the minute we're not quite there yet, I think, unfortunately. So
it's a bit of a new format as well next season. I've not really wrapped my head around it completely, but it's a completely new format as well. So it's a shame that United aren't in it. But Dec, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Reece there and yourself. I think we'd benefit from a year out of it. I don't think the only time I wanted to be in a Europa League final was this year when I was on in Dublin. I would have loved United to have been there. Would have been a serious piss up. Would have been a serious piss up in the capital. But
it'd have been very expensive as well. A pint around Dublin. My God,
that's okay. I know where not to go.
You know, yeah. To be fair, if we ever end up in Dublin, I've been to Galway quite a lot, but not Dublin. But I'd love to go if I ever need. You avoid the centre, don't you? Effectively, and don't go to Temple Bar. Yes. You go just outside, you can get a nice pint, I'm sure, somewhere.
Stay away from Temple Bar. Sorry, Dublin tourism, but if you go to Temple Bar, you're going to get reefed and just bring an ATM with you. No, yeah. I think we'll benefit from a year out of European football. I definitely don't want a Conference League. I mean, that's of no interest to me. We're looking at a rebuild now, so just concentrate on the league, concentrate on the cups, and try to get the team performing on the pitch. We're definitely not getting top four. Not a hope. I mean, that's gone now, especially with the games we've left coming up. You can't call them before you'll be able to pick which games you're going to get 3 points out of. Unfortunately, this season has shown that we can't even do that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm going over to the Arsenal game, so should be fun.
Do you know what? I've been offered tickets to it, but money financially, I don't know if I can afford it, but I'm sure I will try and find a way, and I might end up at the Arsenal game myself, which would be lovely. Just before we move on from Ten Hag, there's sort of one final question for you. Dec, you've alluded. Are you Erik Ten Hag in or are you out?
Yeah, no, I'm going to stick to my guns now and go Ten Hag in.
And Reece, are you in or out?
I feel like I'm going to contradict myself on Twitter because I think I've said out quite a few times, but I think now I've simmered down a little bit. I'm going to say give him another year. Yeah, so I'm in.
Yeah, I change my mind as the days go on. I think here right now on this podcast, I'd probably say maybe it's not what I want, it's what I think will happen. And I think Ineos have made their mind up. I think from performances and tactically this year, I think they've seen enough to go, yeah, he's not the man.
Yeah.
And I also would argue as well for Ten Hag's sake that it's not a negative on him. Many managers over the last decade have tried and failed. Arguably better managers than him have tried and failed. And that is sort of the epitome of what Man United has been over the last decade. And I think he would maybe be the last manager of the Glazer era, and a fresh start completely with Ineos would would probably not be the worst thing. Who that is, I have no idea, because there doesn't seem to be a single option. I mean, I know Tuchel's been floated. I know Graham Potter has. Lord God forbid, if Gareth Southgate is announced, there'll be riots outside Old Trafford, because that will be unbelievably terrible.
They won't have to demolish Old Trafford. The fans will do that if that happens.
And I tell you what, I'll be the one in the middle doing it. But it's weird, isn't it? Because when Van Gaal was obviously on his last days, and FA Cup final again, probably similar to the end days of Ten Hag, you could argue, but there was an obvious choice in Mourinho. You know, we go and get him in, whereas there's probably not now. So it kind of makes you think, and you have to put your trust in Ineos, whether they believe Ten Hag can do it next year for the final season, or for his final year of contracts, and see if he can get another one, or do they get rid of him this year and pay him out? I don't know, but what I think will happen is a new manager will be in. I really do, just because I don't think Ineos will wait the year, and it's certainly not going to be based on an FA Cup final. And if it is, I'd probably question Ineos's sort of thoughts if that's the case.
Do you think either way, Callum, it'll be based on, even if he wins or loses that final, that'll be the kind of like the finishing line for when they make that decision? Because I think when you look at the kind of Mourinho end at Spurs, I felt that was quite an unfair dismissal when he had that.
It was bizarre, yeah, really bizarre. Yeah.
It's really unfair for him as well. You know, if you win that, it goes on your CV, and to take that away from him when he sort of worked towards that was quite, like you say, bizarre. But do you think that'll be the kind of finishing line for him on that one? Because I do. I think that'll be, either way, that'll be kind of when they make the decision on him, to be fair.
I think it would be, just because I think it'd be a natural end. I think, you know, the season's over. He's won a cup and finished on a high. I don't think that would be terrible for him. Like, say, managers have tried and failed. I think, you know, 3 finals, 2 potential trophies, a 3rd place finish, and then just it kind of unraveling through. Because the thing is, he's not helped himself. I really genuinely believe that the tactics have been really bad. Like, some of them have been so questionable. And when you see it in 1 or 2 games, fine. But when it's over such a prolonged period of time, like the gaps between the defence and midfield are genuinely laughable sometimes. And you can see on the pitch that the players just don't know what they've been instructed to do almost. And that's my worry. And I think the season, in terms of the league, has gone now, and you know, there's not really anything to play for other than Europa League and Europa Conference League. And as Man United, that doesn't really matter to the owners. It's not really that big of a financial difference. I think the Champions League is what makes them the money, so they won't really be looking, if he finishes Europa League, we'll keep him. I think the league has been terrible. We've not been amazing in the cups either, to be fair. Obviously, we got knocked out by Newcastle in the Carabao, and it was absolute dross. Then, you know, Champions League was, wow. You know, I know Onana had a horrendous campaign, but we still shouldn't have been giving leads away like we did up, you know, so that was a question. The FA Cup, again, we've done well to get to the final, but the Coventry game, I think if we'd have got knocked out there, I think they would have pulled the trigger then. I think that's how embarrassing it would have been. So I think it just comes to a natural end, to be honest. A natural end of season's finished. We've won a trophy. Thank you so much. Unfortunately, it didn't work out in the end, but you brought us some silverware. You ended that drought that we had. Thank you very much. And he'll probably go back to Ajax in July, and it kind of works out for him. But it's just who we get in, and I'd have to trust Ineos's judgment on that. I really don't know. But moving on from Ten Hag, obviously, our next game is Crystal Palace next Monday. Now, Palace are playing really good football. Now, I just want to talk very briefly about the Palace game, with it being the next game. What kind are you expecting to see? Are you expecting to see a completely reformed Man United, or are you expecting to sort of see the usual kind of performances of not great and Palace probably dominate us? Either of you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be the same old. I think, like you said, Callum, it's not going to change anytime soon now, is it? And, you know, I think if the changes that need to be happening. I think when you look at the changes that we've had with just recent managers leaving, Ollie Ranić coming in, sort of a weird spell, wasn't it? And all that kind of stuff happening. I just want them to make a quick decision on it. So I don't think there's nothing's going to change in the Palace game coming up this week. It's going to be same old. We could win it. We could quite easily lose it. I just think it's been a general theme of that's how we're playing. It's going to be a mixed bag. I think from a neutral perspective, I keep saying this for the last half of this season, it's been an excellent watch, because it'll probably be another 2-2, 3-2, 4-2. It's just a mixed bag. You never know what you're going to get. So
it's high scoring game, doesn't it, Reece? I mean, over the last 6-7 weeks, 4-3, 1-1, 4-3, 2-2, 2-2, 3-3, 4-2. There've been some high scoring games.
For a neutral perspective, it's a great game to watch. Just open a couple of cans and sit back and watch a good game. As fans, it's just frustrating because it's wide open. You do want to see that kind of boring 2-0 win and you just kill a game off. It's crap for everybody else, but as fans, you do want to see that. We haven't got that in us. It's wide open, and I just don't see any change. I think Palace have got some exciting sort of attacking players, I suppose, and obviously since Hodgson's has gone, they're getting a bit of a tune out of them now. But like I say, it could go either way. To be fair, I just don't have any hope now. I'm just kind of getting to the FA Cup final, like you said,
season, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. Just close the book on it now, please, because I'm just fed up of it. But yeah, I don't know.
What do you think, Dec? What do you think, Dec? Are you expecting to see Dross again, or do you think something could surprise you?
No, it's going to be the exact same. There's so few games left. I can't see these players being able to change what has been happening. I definitely think it's just the last few games are going to be pure madness, and I expect the same against Palace, because they're flying at the moment. They're playing exciting football. They're going to know that they can attack United. Our only hope in games now, going from now to the end of the season, is we try outscore the opposition, because we're giving away so many shots in every game to every team, whether you're top of the league or bottom of the league. We don't seem to care. We're just giving everyone a chance at us. So, no, I definitely could see a 3-3 on Monday. It just wouldn't surprise me. We just can't seem to, even a 1-0, I'd be happy if they kept a clean sheet at this stage, just to show a bit of fight and to show that they're trying something. But no one would bet on a 1-0 win for United. No.
I think people that do are silly, and they'd probably be losing a tenner, to be honest. But in terms of the last 4 Premier League games of the season, so we play Palace on Monday, play Arsenal on Sunday the 12th, Wednesday the 15th we play Newcastle, and Sunday the 19th of May we play Brighton. Realistically, and I know it's probably a little pessimistic of me, but I genuinely can't see us winning any of those. I think we get a maximum 3 points out of those. I think we might pick up a win against Newcastle, and that's only because Newcastle have had their own issues. How many points realistically do you see us getting out of those four games? Out of 12 points.
Dec, do you want to go first? You might be more optimistic than me.
I actually hate to agree with you, and that's even with me going to the Arsenal game. I just can't see us getting anything out of that. Yeah, Newcastle, and that it. Like, I have to agree with you. It's only because they've had as many issues as we've had. But even with Brighton, they're playing lovely attacking football, and you wouldn't be surprised if they turn us over as well. And that's the worst thing about this season, that the expectations have been set so low for supporters that we don't expect to get anything out of these games. It's such a change for us. It's something we've had to get used to for a few years. But no, I'd agree with you. 3 out of 12, yeah. Unfortunately.
Very unfortunately, but I feel like I've come to expect nothing less at this point. Reece, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think Monday against Palace could go either way. Do you know what? I think just to top it off for our season, I think we could do something. We're at home against Arsenal, obviously, but I was going
to ask you about that. I genuinely think that's the team it'd be typical of these players to turn up against Arsenal and effectively hand City the league, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I can see us doing a 2-0 job on them and playing well, and us just capping it off, and then all the fans going, "Where did that come from?
Where did that come from, and why now?" Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I totally can see us that. The Newcastle game, I think Yeah, I think Newcastle have had a bit of an up and down season, haven't they? And I don't know. Again, that could go either way. The fact that we're at home, although it's midweek, yeah, I think we probably win that game. Brighton away, I don't think we get anything. Unfortunately, if we get anything to draw, I don't think we win that game. But yeah, the Arsenal one, I just think it'll just top our season off. We'll beat them, and like you say, hand the title over to City, and we'll be tearing his hair out, won't we? And just wondering when it's all gone wrong. Because yeah,
exactly. And finishing up, this is kind of what I want to finish on then. So, Man United are currently 6th on 54 points. Newcastle are 7th on 53 points. West Ham are 8th on 49 points, so 5 points behind us and 4 points behind Newcastle. And Chelsea are 9th on 48 points, with a game in hand on us on 48 points, 6 points behind us. With that being said, where do Man United finish this season?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean,
I think Chelsea have slightly faltered again. They've been a very strange team again this year, haven't they? But I would argue Man United don't get top 6. I genuinely think. Well, I think Newcastle will beat us. I just think it depends on the form in other teams. I think United might finish 7th. What do you guys think?
I mean, it's going to come down to that Newcastle game, isn't it? I think that'll determine where we finish. West Ham have got Chelsea.
I'd argue it'd come more down to the goal difference, because ours is +1 and theirs is +19.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's incredible, isn't it? I think it'll come down to that. And obviously, Chelsea are 6 points behind us with a game in hand, but their goal difference is slightly better than ours on +4. So unless something capitulates in terms of their goal difference and ours flies up as well, we could finish as low as 9th. We genuinely could finish as low as 9th. That, to me, is not good enough as well, obviously. Where do you think we'll finish?
Well, obviously, I would have been hoping, with the way the season has gone, that we'd get 6th, but I am kind of worried about it at the moment. I'm not too worried about Chelsea because, and I'll tell you why, it's just that their season has been as mad as theirs. I mean, they pull off a worldie, beating us 4-3 in the manner that we'd normally beat them. I think Arsenal beating them 5-0 has knocked the stuffing out of them. And you just can't call their games either. I think the biggest danger to us is going to be Newcastle. Definitely. That's going to be the big danger for us. We're either going to get 6th or we're going to get 7th, I think.
Yeah. Well, just looking at the fixtures then, United still have Newcastle to play, but Chelsea still have West Ham to play as well.
Yeah.
So Chelsea have also got Tottenham to play. So I think it's strange that we're talking about a battle for 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, isn't it, as United fans? But it's kind of what we've come to know and unfortunately not love over the last 10 years. But I still think there's a twist there as well. So United really want to save face here and try and finish 6th if they can. Now, 5th isn't completely out of the realm, but I'd be very surprised. But I'd say 7th. I think you're slightly worried about 6th as well, aren't you, Dec? And would you agree as well, Reece? So it's not a good time at the moment, is it?
No. I think like you say, I mean, 5th's not, it's not completely out of the question, but it's very unlikely, I think. And I think it'd feel unjustified, I think, considering how we've performed this season. But yeah, you're right. I think the guys have got to put it in now. I mean, they've got a few games left to save a little bit of face and get sixth place. So it's in their hands, isn't it, to do that? So
absolutely.
If they drop down and get 9th, then I think Ten Hag would most definitely be going. So
absolutely, I think I'd agree. And I feel like I try to keep it positive on this show, but I feel like this week has been quite negative. So unfortunately, but United really have sort of knocked the wind out of our sails a little bit recently. But Dec, Reece, thanks a lot for coming on. Dec, where can people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at DecMad1973. I suppose I'm new enough to that, so kind of getting used to it. You'd see me in a few Facebook groups as well. Anything to do with United, I'm usually there. So, and if you see me in the Blaze at the Arsenal game, feel free to buy me a pint.
Oh, yeah. I might. Do you know what, mate? I actually might see you there myself. So drop me a message actually, because I might be in there myself. Reece, where can people find you?
Yeah, just probably whining and whinging on Twitter. So at my United pod. So yeah, if I'm on there, I'm probably just complaining about something we've not done in the game. But other than that, on these shows, yeah. So I think the next one's probably Friday for the Palace game.
Lovely. Make sure you check that out as well. It's really good. Obviously, the Weekly Armchair will be back regular. I think Talk of the League is Friday night, I believe it is now. Obviously, lots more content to come. I will be back most likely next Tuesday at 8 p.m. I haven't got a clue because I haven't asked any guests yet, because I am useless at organising because I have a job. But until you fuckers want to pay me to do this, I have to work. So, but yeah, thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for the comments. It's really appreciated your support as well. You know where to find me on Twitter. You know exactly my feelings on a lot of things at the moment. I seem to be pissing the right people off. But anyway, feel free to find me there. But again, thanks for the support, and I'll see you very soon. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, John.